It's
Like,
funny actually. I have been wanting to. I'm so behind. I'm actually embarrassed. I have never seen um Pan's Labyrinth. And
oh shit.
that's one I know it's like a huge gap in my viewing history that I've got to fix soon. So
Yeah,
maybe I'll do that for next week.
yeah, you gotta want to make sure you have time and you can pay attention. Because yeah, it's all subtitles. It's
Oh yeah,
all in
that's how I
Spanish.
roll, dude. That's
Okay,
how I roll.
okay.
I don't yeah. I love subtitles. I mean anime, right?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I'm all about the subtitles.
Yeah, it's definitely subtitle heavy. Like you got to do your reading, man.
Is
But
it
it's
would you consider it his best movie?
probably
Wow, okay.
it's so good. It's so smart. Um, and there's just so much going on in it, and it's heartbreaking. It's good in the way that something like maybe not quite as depressing as something like Schindler's List or something like that, but it definitely has some punch to it.
Is it a horror film or what?
No, it's like a dark fantasy. So the idea is these kids go to get trucked away. I think it's during World War II. So they get sent away from the English countryside, right? Or they get sent to the English countryside. I think I can't remember. Um, and uh, and then it's just kind of this escapist fantasy. You can't quite tell if they're making a story up to get through, or if it's like really happening to them. But it's a trip. Like it's a trip. It's been a long time since I've seen it. I should actually. I wonder, is it playing anywhere?
I mean, that's the thing. I don't think so. I think what but I'm not as cheap anymore. But if I had to like, rent it, I was like, nope. But now it's like I think I will anyway because it's just like like
It's definitely worth renting. Supposedly it's on Stars right now. If you have Stars,
I don't. I
uh,
all I have is just like all I have is HBO Max, Netflix, Hulu, now Funimation, but cancel that shit again. Actually, no, I'm not because there is an anime called something Lane. Like it's like shit. Hold on. Keep talking or thinking. I
but
just
real quick while you're looking that up, yeah,
yeah.
you're an Amazon guy, so it's $4 to rent on Amazon, but it's $6.99 to buy on Amazon right now.
Yeah, I'm good. Like yeah, I mean
Um, yeah, it's tough because it's brilliant. Like it's so good, it's so visually amazing. Like it's worth buying, but you also may not watch it again.
exactly.
So the $3 is $3, but if
Economically
you really
speaking,
think
it makes sense to buy it though. Economically speaking,
it's
yes.
sort of, yeah. But that's the only place. Everywhere else is Google. It's 7. So Amazon, Google, and YouTube, it's 7. But Apple TV, Direct TV, Redbox, all those, it's 13 to 14, $15.
Wow.
So it seems like there's some kind of deal right now. But if you just want to rent it for $4 and see what you think, then you won't be disappointed. It's amazing, um, but it's not a happy film.
That's cool. You know me.
Yeah.
I like the darkness.
All right, welcome to the All Pop No Culture podcast. I'm your host this week, Kevin. I am joined by Andrew. Andy is out. Pete is out. Kim is perpetually out. She's got better things to do. She's got a man. She's in love. What are you going to do? This week we have possibly less material, but last time I said that we recorded forever, so we'll see what happens. I've got a few things I have watched. Andrew's got a couple things he has watched. We're going to take some time to talk about the new DC universe, which is no longer the DC Extended Universe, helmed by one Mr. James Gunn. And I think we'll close stuff out with a little Andor discussion. It's the only one of the big, 3 shows that's been running that we've been kind of keeping up with. Thrones is over, Rings is over, so Andor it is, and then we'll get going. I think I'll kick off real quick. I'm going to kick off with a downer here, and I was really really bummed, but I watched Blockbuster on Netflix. Or I started watching. I've watched 3 or 4 episodes, um, and this is I'm completely blanking on his name now, but he was on WandaVision. He was the cop in WandaVision. He was on Ant-Man. He's the dad from
Oh no.
the Asian
Yeah.
sitcom that I love too. It was great with Constance Wu. But anyways, um, he's in it. Melissa Fumero from Brooklyn Nine-Nine is in it. Is it DB Smoove, black comedian?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds
yeah.
right. Yeah. Or JB or whatever.
Maybe it's JB. Maybe you're
Yeah.
right. Who I like. I like it. There's like these three. I really like the side characters. Like the actors are likable. Their work is likable, but the show's not very fun. It has a real like almost superstore wannabe vibe to it that just doesn't quite work. Um, they start right away with the will they won't they between the main character whose name is Tim, I think, and then Melissa Fumero's character. Um, and I don't know, it just doesn't really doesn't really work. It's not particularly funny. There's some decent gags, but it's I almost feel like it's one of those things where maybe I can blame the director because I know these actors can be funnier than they are right now. Because the lines just they just don't land. It's almost like it needs a laugh track to be funnier because it doesn't have one, which is good. I hate a laugh track, but um, yeah, I wish it was better. Part of me also kind of wishes that they had said screw it and made it instead of it being about the last blockbuster, which is what it is. Like all the blockbusters are closed. This one's in Michigan, and it's the last blockbuster. I kind of wish they had just set it in the '90s in a blockbuster. Like that actually to me would have been more fun dealing with the people coming in and going out and make it a period comedy because those tend to age a little better too. Um, but yeah, it's okay. I don't hate it. I'll probably finish it, but I'm not going to rush to finish it. Like if there's other stuff for me to watch, and I've got a list. Um, I probably won't get back to it anytime soon, which means I'll probably never finish it. Let's be honest. Um, but I wanted to like it. I really did, and it just didn't take off. Like I was really excited for it actually because the cast, like I said, I love the cast. Um, it just doesn't quite work. I would love for somebody to watch it and tell me I'm wrong or that they loved it, and maybe I'm just being snotty. Because as I get older, I think I'm starting to side more with critics on Rotten Tomatoes than fans on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a snob now. I've been doing this show for long enough. I watch so much stuff that I'm pompous now.
You're like the a video foodie, if you will. It's like you
Right,
a
right, yeah.
discriminating taste. I don't have much to add to that except to say that in 1995 or 94 to 95, I actually worked at a place called Take One Video. It was
All
in
right.
San Juan, so I worked at a video store. I think one of the best perks to working at a video store is when you get off your shift, you get to pick the movie you just take home for free because it's, you work at a video store. So I definitely got to watch more movies than, it was the
Mm-hmm.
beginning. I watched Purple Rain that way. I so many others. But it was fun, and also I think the fun part of working at a video store is you got to kind of judge people for like what they
For what they are renting.
yeah, man. And
I
also like especially if it was like racy or whatever, you're like, oh, okay, I see
Yeah,
what
well,
you're
you know what
doing,
you're doing
right?
tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I remember. So this, um, so Pete knows there was a girl that we knew back in college named Jen, and her and I kind of had a thing, but didn't like it was, we never were totally an item. But I was trying to impress her one night. It was when Jerry Maguire came out, and so I think I went to Hollywood Video because Hollywood Video is the one that had the guaranteed to be in stock outside, like. And so I went in there to get Jerry Maguire because they had it posted. It was guaranteed to be in stock. And I went in there and like dude, I wanted to impress this girl. Like I was down. And so I go in there and I look everywhere and it's on the shelf. I was like, cool, they must have it by the counter. So I'm like, hey, you guys don't have any Jerry Maguire out. And this guy's like, yeah, we're out. And I was like, no. He's like, what? And I was like, no, dude, you're not out. I was like, it's guaranteed to be in stock. He's like, well, we can give you what is it, a
Butcher.
rain check for it,
Yeah.
and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no.
No.
I was like, I need this now. I was
You
like,
don't
I can't
understand.
hear it. Yeah, I was like, this
He's
is
in the car,
important.
dude. Like,
Yeah, I was like, and so I finally I was like, we'll check in the bin, and he's like, well, the bin's outside. I was like, cool, I'll wait. It was raining outside. I made this dude go check in the bin, and they had it. So I got my
you
guarantee.
are the man.
You
That
know,
is a great story,
no,
dude.
I was such a dick, dude. Like if I could go back, I would punch myself in the face.
No,
I was
dude,
such a
priorities,
dick.
priorities, power of the
uh,
priorities. Like, I'm just saying, dude. Like, dude, I already respected you, but my respect is higher now. That's an amazing story. Good for you.
uh, so yeah, so
Impress, mission accomplished.
yeah, and she, to her credit, she was a great girl, and we had a fun night and well behaved. She was a good girl. Like I said, Pete knows what I'm talking about, so he'll back her up. She was far better than me at the time, especially. Um, but it was fun, and it's a funny story. Like a story's fun when it sticks with you fucking 20, 25 years later.
Hell
So
yeah, man. Go check in the rain. You
it
understand? You have
really
this.
was. I was like, you need to go check the bin. He's like, it's outside. I'm like, yeah, I'll wait. What a dick.
Awesome.
What a dick. I had to kick my own ass. So okay. So I've got a couple others, but maybe I'll break us up here and let you talk about yours. You said you watched some new Funimation goodies.
Yeah, so as everyone knows, there is a little anime called Attack on Titan that I love so much. And I think it's really tough when you really love something because then you almost don't even know how to explain it because it's just like your brain's just firing too many neurons at once. But what I will say though, and this is an additional way of kind of selling you, Kevin, as a matter of
Hmm.
fact, is I know that you're not a fan of when storytelling takes shortcuts, like when there's time jumps and everything like that. And Attack on Titan is such a very thoroughly told story because there's lots of characters, but they all get like backstories. So anyhow, the main gist of Attack on Titan basically is you meet these people, they're living behind walls, and outside of these walls are these giant like humanoid looking creatures who look like crazy and they will eat your ass if they catch you. So that's the gist, but it's so much more than that. So anyway, we're 4 seasons in, and the final season was season 4. Part 1 came out like in 2020, 2021. Part 2 came out this year, and part 3, the final part, is going to come out next year, and it's going to be done. The manga's already done. So on Funimation, there are these 8 kind of bonus episodes that came out in Japan only between 2013 and I want to say 18, and they're finally available legally because I did torrent a couple of them on streaming as of 2022. So I watched them all this week. So I wasn't a totally bad APNC motherfucker, which is all pop no culture. I did watch some content. It just happened to be Attack on Titan. These stories enrich these side characters. So they're not the main characters of Eren, Armin, and Mikasa. Well, actually, Mikasa is featured in one of them. But you get the backstories of how this guy named Captain Levi, who was like kind of the number 2 of the scouts, he started off as kind of like a street urchin slash like criminal, and he gets recruited into the scouts. So you get to see kind of like his backstory as to how that happened and how he was originally supposed to kill the leader of the scouts, and it's crazy. And then they end up becoming like, he literally like they're boys, but in the beginning it was so not the case, and it's so cool to see how that happened. But one particular story I really want to focus on, however, is there's a character named Annie Leonhardt. And how do I say this? I mean, I know you may or may not watch this, and there's so many. I'll just say this: Annie, like, she plays a pivotal role in season 1, and she does something in season 1 that is so like crazy that you're almost like, what the fuck? But apparently, in this OAD, which is basically the bonus episode, you get to see a detective story where she actually has to like um find the missing girl who is the daughter of this rich guy, and she goes around town like a detective, like tracking down like the mystery. There's dead people, she definitely has to like bust some heads and everything, but it's really cool to see her character. Is she a villain? Is she a good person? I mean, in season one, you definitely think of her as a villain, but I think that these stories kind of humanize everyone. So that's a cool one. I actually think that was the best one. There was like a 2-part episode for that. What am I forgetting? There's a cooking contest between two characters, kind of goofy, but like it's still cool to just get to know a character there. What am I forgetting? I mean, basically all I'm saying is this. It was 8 episodes. It fleshes out the characters even more. And it's like they're not the main characters, but they're still really compelling. So I just think that of all the media that I've ever been exposed to when it comes to storytelling, I still think of all time, even above Game of Thrones, even above Battlestar Galactica, and trust me, I love Battlestar Galactica, like Attack on Titan is my favorite. It just is, and I just can't get enough. And I just think that these 8 episodes just did nothing but help me wait for the final season to go. One more thing I will say about the Attack on Titan journey as a fan is that season 1, just to give you guys some perspective, came out in like 2012, I want to say. Season 2 didn't come out until 2018. Okay, so that's 5 years of a wait. And then when it came out, it was only like 10 episodes. Okay, every other season is like more like 20 something.
How long are the episodes? 30? Or are they an hour?
Yeah, 25 minutes, like whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. So they fly right by. But the story never feels rushed. It actually takes its time. And as a matter of fact, like, I may go back to Lost because I know that you love Lost, right? And if you just give it a chance, if you just give like the first, I would say, 5 episodes of Attack on Titan a chance, I have a feeling you might get sucked in because it's like
I think I will. I know that I've started it. I have watched part of the first episode. To be honest, I think I started it twice. And it just starts out in such a weird place because there's like some chase in the jungle is like the first like opening scene of the first episode. And it's kind of without context, right? So you're kind of trying to take this whole thing in.
So yeah, I'll explain that basically. Okay, so basically the way it starts off is they're all riding on horseback in the forest. And what you're seeing basically is an expedition. So the scouts go out because they want to basically understand they want to understand the Titans. And actually, it's a really good segue. The first extra episode is about how this one scout wants to capture a Titan alive, because the more you learn about what they are, the better we're going to be able to fight them. But when you find out what they really are, the shit's tragic. It really is. And it's like, I'm not spoiling anything, but there's definitely more to meets the eye. They're not just these random ass mindless things. There is a story behind what they are and how they got to be what they are. It's so much deeper. But basically, it starts off, media res, as you're just seeing the scouts. But then after that, like, so you see, why am I horrible with names? So you actually do see Levi, who I told you about. He's the guy, the short guy with the black hair. The blonde guy who's the lead. Actually, he's not even the leader yet, but there's a blonde guy. And he's like, if Chris Evans plays him in the live action, it's perfect casting. But like, basically, after you see that, then you see, like, you meet the main characters, Eren Yeager, and Mikasa. They're 3 childhood friends who grow up in this series. They actually grow up to like almost adulthood in the series. And then the scouts come back and they're walking through, and Eren wants to be a scout, but you see how every time they go out there, they probably lose about 60-70% of their men to fucking the Titans. So this mother comes out, she's crying. She's like, "Where's my boy?" And they go get it. So they bring out like her boy's arm. That's all we could retrieve from him. And they hand her his arm like it's a fucking loaf of bread. And she cries. And then she's like, "Tell me that he died for a reason." And they're like, "Yes, he died in the mission of, like, it wasn't a pointless death, but we all know it was kind of pointless death."
Yeah.
But it's just so deep. And so anyway, I hope that gives you some context that it's a scout mission, and it pulls back, and then it gives you the three.
It
And then
seems, yeah, it seems to me I got further in that episode because it doesn't one of the don't the Titans make it over the wall in that one?
So basically, the way that episode ends is one giant Titan's head basically pops up, and then another, and then it kicks in the gate. So that way it opens the wall. The Titans get inside and they start killing motherfuckers. And then another Titan with an armor Titan runs and then busts another wall. And can I tell you a little bit more about like what's happening there? So basically what's happening there actually is that was a deliberate attack. Most Titans are actually mindless, but some people can actually turn into Titans. So basically the people inside the wall, they have no knowledge of the outside world because they were banished behind the wall. But the people in the outside world want to eliminate them. It's genocide. So, and the people in the outside, and the people who turned into Titans and actually did that, I'll just tell you, whatever. No, I won't tell you. But they were doing that because they're on a mission. They're told to fucking it, to go in. But there's also more to it. They're actually there to retrieve another Titan who's living amongst one of the characters, because these Titans are basically they're weapons of mass destruction. Whoever has the Titans can win wars. So what you witnessed was a terrorist attack. Basically, it's 9/11. It's 9/11 in that first episode.
Yeah, I'll definitely go back and watch it. I know, like, obviously I've watched more than just a few minutes of it, but I need to get back and start it over and get some context from it.
And are you okay with subtitles? Because again, I think the English dub.
Yeah, what I like to do when I can, I really like to watch with the dubbed over, but also with subtitles.
Yes. Oh wait, English or
yeah. I actually like to hear it in English, but see the subtitles also, because sometimes I'll look away when there's subtitles, so I don't want to miss it. But also, it's always interesting to me to see the difference in what we say they said versus the written translation of what they said, because it is actually different a lot of the time. Even the dub over is different than the direct translation of what they're saying. I think I first experienced that watching Dark on Netflix, which is a fantastic show. And actually I have the creators of that created a show called 1899 that comes out later this month. It looks amazing on Netflix, but they're German, so it is different. But it's interesting just to see, usually it's little things, like the nuances are very small.
They make such a difference though.
They really do. They really do. It's a trip.
I experienced that actually when I tried to watch Squid Game. So I watched Squid Game with the English dub and then the subtitles. And between the mouths not matching the English dub and the English dub just sounding kind of stilted, and then the subtitles not matching what they were saying, it was too much for my brain to process. I'm like,
you just went straight to subtitles.
I went straight to the fucking like Japanese, or not Korean, because I feel like the Korean voice actors, or just the Asian voice actors in general, I think, in my opinion, just emote better. So it's just like, and then I can also, I listen more to the emotion behind the delivery and then the words. So it just all comes to play. And I also can't look away from anything. Like even when I'm eating something, if I'm eating soup, I'm not going to watch something that I want to pay attention to, because I have to look down and make sure I'm not spilling shit. That's literally how focused I am on TV. I never look away. I can't just put something on in the background and like, nope, it just bugs me. So I'm not trying to tell you how to watch the fucking show, but I sort of am. But like, I'm just sorry.
I'm super guilty of being part of the cell phone generation. Like I do get get distracted from so much.
I pause. Like I literally, that's why it takes me forever to watch a movie too. Cause like if I look at my cell phone, I will pause the shit. Like that's just how I am. So I hear you. Try to watch the English one, fine. But I just feel like you're missing out, because I just feel like, especially Ermin's voice is so annoying in the English one. He's like, Ermin, that's how I talk. It's like, no, dude, like listen to the original Japanese, and then it's just more like, okay, Ermin's just a wimpy but smart guy, not wimpy and annoyingly whiny sounding guy.
Yeah, there's something funky about anime where American voices always tend to sound this, there's always a character that sounds like X, Y, and Z. Like there's always one that sounds kind of like that whiny, high pitched kind of doofy sounding dude, right? Once they put an American actor that always sounds like that. Um, like if I'm trying to think, like if you ever watch the original Voltron, you had like Pidge, right? Who's a kid, but like Pidge was squeaky and whiny. There's always somebody that kind of has that
Yes, that cartoonish
same
thing.
aesthetic, yeah. And so yeah, I don't think that's necessarily how the original voice actors
Heck no.
were.
I
So
think the best voice acting in any anime from an English standpoint was Robotech. I think they actually
mhm.
did an amazing job. It was like I think Robotech is it's the only English adaptation, in my opinion, that is superior to the source material. And I'll say that. I mean, I will Vaymond. I will you can try to cut my head off for saying that. I don't care because I know that is facts. Not taking anything away from Macross. Macross is amazing. Southern Cross is a piece of shit. And Mos Pieta is like I still haven't finished it, but Robotech, well, all three together with that voice acting and with the music and and the lore behind it and how it's all connected, superior. But thank you for indulging my Attack on Titan love. You have no idea how happy you made me, but you can probably tell by my face I'm extremely happy. So everyone else watching this damn show, please watch Attack on Titan. It's on Hulu, and let me know what you think.
I added it to my watch list. I really got to get back to it because I know, if they're 30-minute episodes, I can burn through them pretty quick. My workload is starting to slow a little bit, so hopefully I'll get to watch a little more stuff. I've been buried for the last like month. But for bringing it back to my favorite person, who is me, I watched behind me. I got Cabinet of Curiosities, which is a anthology horror series by one Mr. Guillermo del Toro, who I think is in his very own way a very stylized, very artistic um, creator. I think I know in the pre-show we talked about it, and you haven't seen Pan's Labyrinth yet. But what was the there's one about a mansion, Crimson Peak. If you ever saw that, um, he's just his directing style, and he doesn't direct all of these, but he's producing all of them, and he's putting them together with other directors. Um, he is um, he is Latin. I don't know if he's Mexican or if he's Spanish.
I think he's
Um,
Mexican, actually.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think so too. Um, but he did, his speaking voice, he definitely has an accent, like it comes through pretty clearly. Um, but he works with a few other Latin directors in this one. I'm not saying they're all Latin, but the couple that I watched, they were. But um, it's interesting. Like the first story has some Lovecraftian feel to it. Like you get your tentacled monsters and all that stuff. Um, and it's good. They're at least from the first few, it doesn't seem like they necessarily tie into each other. So like you could watch kind of in any order. It seems like they have nobody that I've seen so far is necessarily a big name actor, but they're people that I've seen in things that I really liked. Like the first main guy, can't tell you his name, can't tell you what I remember him from, but I can tell you I remember him from like a bunch of different things. The second episode is I think it's called Grave Rats or something like that. It's about basically rats that are pulling bodies from graves down into the ground to feed on the remains. And the main actor in that one, his name is David Hewlett, and he's from Stargate Atlantis. And I like him. He's great. I really like him a lot. And so it's fun. It's neat to see. I always like anthology shows because um, they don't necessarily have to go together, right? You're just watching bits and pieces. Now, it's possible that near the end, like they'll all kind of come together a little bit. But what I really like is he introduces the show in almost each episode in almost a Twilight Zone kind of way. So it's him, and he's got this uh, cabinet behind him. It's a funky looking cabinet, his Cabinet of Curiosities, and he tells just the tiniest bit about the story, and he puts down some item on the table that looks like it's from the story, and then he introduces who the director is. So it's not him. He says this one's directed by so and so, and then the story starts. Um, and they're cool. They're his like I said, his big deal is visuals. If you've even just seen the trailer for Pan's Labyrinth, you get it. Like there's a very his style is very visual, and it's trippy, and so it's been a lot of fun. So I'm really enjoying that one. And on a lighter but similar note, on Netflix, the newest season of Unsolved Mysteries came out, which is not as dark and supernatural, but um, it's a trip. Like, do you remember being a kid when Unsolved Mysteries was on?
Oh my God, Unsolved Mysteries. Okay, first of all, like Robert Stack, okay, was the
Yes, the
voice,
original.
he was the voice of Ultra Magnus, okay? So like,
That's right.
that's what I'm saying, dude. So out as a kid, I was a dude. Yeah. So the fact that Ultra Magnus is on NBC like every what Friday night or what Saturday night, whatever, yeah, I'm gonna watch it. So I absolutely remember Unsolved Mysteries, totally. Because he actually talked like Ultra Magnus. I can't do his voice, but it was sort of like that,
Yeah.
Autobots.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Now, I don't know that they've put a face in front of Unsolved Mysteries this time around. It's just kind of a voiceover. Um,
is the music the same?
the music is the same.
Do 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 do
Yeah.
do 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 do. That's awesome.
Yeah. And so, now at the end of every episode, they give you a website to go to if you got any information about the Unsolved Mysteries. They do one, some for, missing persons, some for just kind of funky, weird stories, some for murders, some for aliens. Like you kind of get it all. I think I've only watched 2 or 3 from this new season, but all I can say is it's Unsolved Mysteries. Like if you've watched Unsolved Mysteries, it's great. If you haven't, they're literally unsolved mysteries. They have a story. They explain the story as best they can with the facts at hand. In some cases, sometimes I think maybe they're a little too I guess directed. Like there's one about a murder that they literally let the murderer go in real life, um, because they didn't have enough evidence or whatever. And so the show is like, this person is guilty. If you know where they are, pass on information. And maybe they weren't. This is all I could say. We're kind of going at face value of people that know some stuff and others that don't. Um, but it's interesting. It's really cool to see these cases and these stories kind of unravel, and then see how they weren't solved. Like there's some really weird stories out there that don't have answers.
You got me at
Um,
aliens. I absolutely will check this out. Actually, I think I will give it a whirl.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's good. It's good. This is the 3rd season, so if you liked
Oh,
it before, there's a lot to catch up on if you haven't watched it yet. And it's cool. Like I said, it's just one of those, semi-documentary shows that has a lot of information, and sometimes those shows are the coolest when you walk away without an answer. Like, yeah, and you kind of want to know, you want to know more. There was one, maybe it's in the 1st season, where it's about the ghosts of, it's not Tokyo, but it's in Japan. There was when the tsunami hit. I think it was the tsunami, and there's just footage of like entire villages just getting wiped out. And what was trippy is they had real footage of the waves coming in, the water coming in, and it's so destructive. But like when you're zoomed far enough out, it really looks like it's moving slowly.
oh yeah,
Like
I
it looks
remember
like
seeing
it's
that.
creeping over, but it's not.
Mhm.
I mean, it's coming fast. Like and the amount of destruction. But it was all people telling stories about how um, they saw ghosts of loved ones after this and all this stuff. So it was really interesting. Now you'll get the ghost stories in there too. So it's a really cool show. It's a lot of fun. And
Actually, when that tsunami happened as well, I had to throw this in there. It was horrible, but it did delay production of the second, no, the third Evangelion. So like I was like, fuck, like just like no. I'm not thinking about the people. I mean, I was thinking about the people, but I was also thinking about like, wait, like hopefully this doesn't like push things back, but it totally did. Um, I think by a year or two. So fuck you, tsunami.
yeah, yeah. And the people that died, we also feel bad for them.
Yes, that too, of course.
That too. Um,
Uh,
all right. So we've gone through the stuff we've watched. We'll get to Andor at the end because it's interesting, but it's not why everybody's here. Everybody's obviously here for us to talk about important and new and interesting things. So we're going to talk about something that's actually like a couple of weeks old now, but we kind of let it settle in before we decided to talk about it. And since nobody ever feels like showing up, we'll be the ones to steward this ship. And we're going to talk about one Mr. James Gunn taking over the DC universe, which is no longer the DC Extended Universe. It is the
Thank God.
DCU, not EU. And you know, Black Adam has kind of been labeled as kicking this off, but it's not. Like Black Adam is its own thing. Its production started pre James Gunn. Like James Gunn's still intrinsically tied to the MCU through Guardians 3. I think even like one of Kevin Feige's quotes was like, I don't know how he's going to have time before next summer, but once he does, I fully have his back. And that's one of the things that I think is really cool, is how much this community in this genre of storytelling seems to be like cool about it. Like they have each other's backs now, because Feige's super excited for him. He's like, you couldn't give the job to a better person. And so I'm really curious to see where it goes, because James Gunn's always been a director. And I assume he's not going to direct every DC movie that's going to be coming out. Right. So it's going to be, he's going to focus the storytelling. He may work a little bit with, maybe visual ideas and design ideas and things like that. But he's not going to be the man behind the camera for every single film. So
I think his strength is characters. I think that he really has a love for characters, and like what's his name before him who got disgraced?
Snyder?
The Buffy guy.
Oh yeah, Joss Whedon.
Yeah. Like, it's all about the interconnectedness of the characters and bringing heart to the situation. I think Whedon could do that too. They probably were hoping he would do that for Justice League, but obviously we saw what happened. I'm still skeptical. I am still like because I read an article and I believe it. I read that Gunn, he wants to kind of continue the whole Suicide Squad,
Peacemaker,
Justice League like kind of story, whereas The Rock wants to focus more on, again, those outside characters who haven't been shown yet, and he also wants to give them more origin stories. Apparently the original idea for Shazam was, again, to have Black Adam be the villain in that first movie, and The Rock, being uber protective of like his baby, was like, no dude, like Shazam needs his own movie, to just kind of have his origin story. And I think The Rock I was Freudian, and Black Adam needs his own origin story. And I know, of course, that you've acknowledged the need for the connection, but my fear is, I think Gunn is kind of more of the same, but just has more power. The only thing I like that Gunn has done, like unequivocally, is Brightburn. I know that he was a producer on that, but he didn't actually have his hands on that. I loved that movie because
I did not.
Oh, word!
I think think I bought it. And I was like, yeah.
Wait, sight unseen?
Yeah, and after I watched it, I was like, I would like my money back.
Wait, hold on a second. Okay, all right.
I do that now. It's been a while since I watched it. But man, yeah, there's something about it that I just did not love, and I wanted to bad, because I like James Gunn. And there was something about just the way it all went down. There was some, I own it, so I guess I can watch it again and figure out what I didn't like about it. But I can't remember. I just remember finishing it and being disappointed.
I've ever seen. Like it was legit. Dude, he, like, the kid wins. Like there's like everyone dies. Like he kills everybody, even his fucking mom. Like, and he kills her the worst way. Do you remember what he did?
No.
He just fucking flew her up in the sky and dropped her, dude. I was like, what the fuck? And I literally was like, after that movie, I was like, okay, I so want Kal-El or someone to come in and fuck this kid up because like someone needs to like fuck him up. But even like the dad, like we could tangent, right? Is it
Yeah,
cool?
yeah, sure.
Like the dad knows his kid's fucked. So finally, the dad's just kind of like he takes him out into the woods, and he's like sad, but he actually shoots the kid in the head, and the kid like because he doesn't know the kid's actually like invincible.
Superman, yeah.
So when the kid gets hit and is alive, dad knows it's a wrap. He's like, "Son, I'm sorry," and the kid's just like, "Yo, I'm so hurt. Like you're my dad, and you tried to kill me. Now you got to go." You know. That was it. Like I've never seen something so it was I loved it. I mean, but again, like and I don't know if the movie did very well at the box office either, but again, it was just so
Uh,
good. But
I
it was
don't think it did, but it was such a
yeah,
niche film. Like
yeah.
it fit in such a specific
It was a horror film.
lane.
It was a
Yeah,
horror film.
it really was.
So
Um,
anyhow, yeah, but if you unless you wanted to talk more about that, I was gonna go back to like my thoughts on
yeah, yeah,
Gunn.
go ahead.
Yeah, so like so I'm not saying that like he's going to do a bad job. I'm just taking a very wait and see approach because I personally I can't say I've been crazy about anything that he's done on the DC side. Like I thought the first was actually no, that wasn't even him. The second Suicide Squad movie was an improvement over the first one
For
for
sure.
sure. But I also wasn't necessarily like, oh my god, like I just feel like his Guardian stuff was better, and to me, that's because Feige's there, like kind of like I feel like Gunn, like what's his name, Taika, needs a little bit of oversight. So my fear is that this is just going to be another Snyder thing. Like you're getting directors to do things that kind of even bigger picture people should be kind of in charge of. But that's why they threw Safran in the mix because that way he can kind of like they can both because Safran's more of a producer. But Safran, again, to his credit, I mean, really, as far as DC is concerned, I think he was behind Aquaman and Shazam, which to me doesn't give me that much like comfort. I think between the two, I prefer Shazam. But
For
like
sure. For
a
sure.
lot of people talked about, Shazam didn't know what the fuck it was. So again, I feel like, in my opinion, I'm the contrarian here. The person who I personally think should actually be in charge, or at least have some juice here, it's just fucking Rock, man. Like I can't wait for you to see this damn movie because like I
You know,
just
the problem with The Rock though is that I do not think that he has a level of like overall comic knowledge to run something like this. Whereas I think James Gunn has been a nerd for a long time. You know, I think he knows the characters and he knows the universe and he knows these things better than better than The Rock does. The Rock has the advantage that he worked on Black Adam for 15 years, which is ridiculous, but he worked on Black Adam for 15 years. So like to me, if he doesn't nail Black Adam after 15 years, he's not going to get anything else right.
I mean,
Right?
that is a
Like,
very, very fair argument. But at the same
um,
time, I also think though, but it shows that he has respect for it. So it's
oh,
like
for sure.
even if he doesn't personally have the knowledge, I think he's savvy enough to then say, okay, let me make sure that I surround myself with the people who can fill the gaps that I'm bringing to the table. So I certainly, yeah, if I was in a position, I would totally do that. I would surround myself
Oh, for sure.
with the
For
right
sure. You
people
have to
and
have that. You have to have those knowledge people.
counsel.
But I also think too, I don't think he would ever do it. And the reason is he's the busiest fucking dude as is. And that was one movie out of like the lexicon of the Rock movies, right? And I think he's probably got a few more passion projects under his belt that we haven't heard about yet. Because we had the Riverboat Cruise, we had Black Adam. I don't know that Jumanji was necessarily all him, but he made that movie work, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
so yeah, we'll see. I don't know. If so, my thing with Gunn is if he's not directing, if he's just producing, it'll be interesting to see. I'd have to see. I'd have to really dig in and see a list of things that he's produced and not necessarily directed. Because I thought he did direct Brightburn.
Yeah, no, I'll
But
tell you the director.
he did Peacemaker. So the one thing I've really noticed about James Gunn is because he did Slither way back in the day. He does lean more towards the slightly over the top, uh, twisted sense of humor, horror genre, right? And I'm actually okay with that because DC needs that differentiation from
Marvel.
Marvel. Like Marvel in the MCU has set it up to be like the clean family environment, right? Like you're not going to get um, a whole bunch that's rated R. You're going to get your Deadpool, but you really only get that because Disney bought Fox, right? Like if Disney hadn't bought Fox, they would have made Deadpool 3 over here, and Deadpool would have been what it was, but not part of the MCU. Whereas James Gunn, while he did the Guardians, if you watch Suicide Squad and if you watch Peacemaker, those are more authentically James Gunn things than Guardians. Guardians was, like you said, was Marvel saying, "Hey, bud, just let's tone it back a little bit. Let's make sure some kids can go see this. Let's do this stuff." Um, so I'm really curious to see where the next projects go. I think you posted it today where there's rumors swirling about Steven Spielberg directing
That
Superman,
would
Man of Steel
be
2.
amazing.
That would be a coup. Like that would be
Yes.
huge. Because number one, I Spielberg, I don't think would ever direct in the MCU.
Yeah, because he's not a hired hand.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, he would the way that DC is going. That's what he would be in the DCU. Like anybody that
Yes.
comes in is now going to become part of the collective, right? Like you're gonna have your couple of movies that you're directing. You'll probably go like the Russos, like Favreau, like all these other people. Like you'll have your moment, and then you'll. But Spielberg would be a good get because when Marvel started, your first film was a Jon Favreau film, right? And Jon Favreau was a huge comic nerd. He knew exactly what he wanted to do. He knew the character very well. He's a respected director. Like he had all these things under his belt. Like he was the perfect guy to really kick off the MCU. Um, and then, they went a different route with Thor when you had Kenneth Branagh, but again, an established director doing something different.
Yes.
Um, now we're at the point where you're kind of getting people that um, aren't necessarily as well known until they break out in the MCU. Like Chloe Zhao had only done one other thing that people were really talking about, I think.
But she
For
did
sure,
get the Oscar
she
for it,
did get
though.
the Oscar,
Yeah.
but very different than Marvel,
Yeah.
right? Like, so there's a lot of interesting things going on in Marvel. Marvel's now at the point where I think they're just going to continually push the envelope just a little bit until they flame out. Which I hope isn't for a while. Like I like what they're doing. Wakanda Forever looks fucking amazing. I'm going to see that in a week. Like next week, I
Yeah.
will be talking about Wakanda Forever.
She's awesome.
Um, and Guardians, the holiday special is going to be fun. Guardians 3 will be great. The Quantumania trailer's out. That looks dope. Like that looks great. So like I don't think Marvel's in any danger right now. Uh, but I think if if DCU gets their act together, sits back, takes a little time, like it's still like it's been my argument the whole time. They need to take a breath, figure out what they're doing to move forward. They can safely, I think, tie Black Adam into this, right? Because you have your Black Adam story, you have your JSA story. Um, you've got those bits and pieces in there that you can then unravel in different ways and move around within the DCU. Because from what I've seen of the trailers, it's family friendly enough. Like it'll
Oh, yeah.
work in this larger scope and doesn't necessarily have to be tied down. Um, I've always said that DC has a god problem. So many characters in
Oh,
DC
super
are absolute
overpowered.
god level.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's comics where Superman is sneezed and blown up like a solar system. Like I'm like, come on, like dude's too powerful, right? Um, so it'll be interesting. I would love to see still a more detective take on Batman. I think they were kind of inching towards that in the newest Batman,
So
although
they
it was a
were.
little too dark. Um, but there's a sensibility to Batman that they still have never really gotten. Keaton was the closest, but Batman's the dude that has a file on every single member of the Justice League, so that if he ever has to stop them, he literally can.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, you're talking Green Lantern, you're talking, all
Everyone.
these like these incredible heroes, all these incredibly powerful people, and he's just a dude. He's a dude with money and a brain, and he knows what to do, and you don't get into that in a lot of the movies. Like a lot of the movies are about him kicking ass.
And
You
I think
know,
it comes from the lack of the knowledge and respect for the source material
yeah.
ultimately. So one of the things that I also kind of wasn't sure I liked was I also read that like what Gunn wanted to do was make Amanda Waller like a kind of a big bad, and I feel like uh in Black Adam she wasn't. She actually was just more like, no, I am here to make sure that Earth is protected. Yes, I'm tough as nails, but I'm not actually like straight up evil. And I feel like in Suicide Squad, she actually like her own people turn against her because, and I'm just kind of like, I don't know, I don't know. I think that let the boys handle that. Like let the boys make Supes be assholes, But I think that DC, like Superman in particular, which is why I'm so excited about Spielberg, because like Spielberg knows how to make us hope and be
Mm-hmm.
optimistic. Even in a film as fucked up and dark as Schindler's List, you still find that hope and brightness in it because Spielberg knows how to do that. So if you can take one of the most hopeful, optimistic, celebratory directors who knows how to be epic, and you marry that with the guy who literally has a symbol, which according to the Snyderverse means hope, and you marry that together, like that's what I'm talking about. Like
Yeah.
he might end up making a Superman the movie level movie, and that to me is that gives me hope. I mean, I hate to use the word hope again, but it does. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I think my moment, even if you take Spielberg out of it, right, was just Cavill's comment about how he's excited to bring a joyous Superman. Because I've never knocked Cavill as Superman. Like he looks like Superman. He's built like fucking Superman. I've seen him in so many things where he's got a sense of humor. He's got the smile. He's got the personality. He's got the charm. He's got all that stuff. Um, and I love Tyler Hoechlin Superman and Superman and Lois, and I would love to see some more of those sensibilities come across in Cavill's Superman because I think he can. He doesn't have to be the dark, angry Superman just because he's huge and jacked and looks like he could actually throw a car himself. Um, so I'm really excited to see what comes next because and part of me is excited because Henry Cavill's excited about it, right? Like he almost like The Rock. He sat there and he waited. He waited for Man of Steel too. He's
yeah.
been sitting by the phone hoping, but at the same time, like he's quoted. He's like I never gave up on it. He's like I didn't necessarily expect it, but I never gave up. And so he went about his life, did his things, didn't rest on his laurels by any stretch. But at the same time, he he wanted to do it again. Like this is his thing, and he deserves it. I think I'd hate to see them recast Superman right now when they have such a great one. So I'm stoked to see what he does.
So I'm looking at the filmography of both James Gunn,
Mhm.
and and Peter Safran. And I gotta say, dude, like I don't know, man. Like Safran has like he goes all the way back to Rocket Man in '97, but then there's like Rocket Man, Scary Movie.
Wait,
When
which Rocket Man?
exactly? Well, one I've never. It's a sci-fi comedy with Harlan Williams. Just
Yes. Okay. Let me tell you this right now. I fucking love that movie.
okay, all
You would
right.
hate that movie. Most people I know would hate that movie. It is the dumbest fucking movie, but it's like a movie that my family has been watching
Oh,
for like years. It's
oh,
dumb. It's dumb. My wife hates it.
it's like
There's
it's Disney.
Yeah. Oh, it is
Yeah.
Disney. There's probably a few too many fart jokes in it. Like, it's dumb. It's really, really dumb, but it is fun. And I think because I caught it at a period in my life where I was not as mature as I am today, which is still to say I'm not very mature, but like, I love that movie. I've watched that movie so many times. That's why when you said Rocket Man, I was like, wait.
Yeah.
First, I was thinking the Rocketeer, and I was like, that's not it. And then the other Rocket Man is the Elton John one. But I was like, I know what movie you're talking about. I
So
love.
he likes so Meet the Spartans. He did that one as well, which is supposed to be like one of those like scary. Like he did Scary Movie as well.
Yeah.
But then there's a lot of stuff here that's kind of random, like um, Fairy Tale Police, Post Apocalyptic Pizza, Buried, Vampires Suck, Elephant White, ATM. Like, yo, the only one that it actually starts like going into like, so okay, some heavy hitters, The Conjuring, okay, then Annabelle, then like, but then a lot of like Super Fast, Dark Places, Summer Camp, Murders, huh? The Conjuring 2, okay, Wolves of the Door, Annabelle, The Creation, Flatliners, like a remake, which probably sucked.
Oh yeah.
Then
I haven't even heard about
Aquaman,
that.
then Shazam, then Annabelle Comes Home, and then the Suicide Squad, and then he did do Shazam: Fury of the Gods as well as Blue Beetle and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So you know what? He really is a big part of like the new,
What's
you
going
know,
on in DC right now?
yes. And then James Gunn, you know, Tromeo and Juliet, the special, Scooby Doo, Dawn of the Dead, Scooby Doo 2, Slither, Super, then Guardians, then the Belko Experiment, Guardians 2, Brightburn, Suicide Squad, Guardians 3, and Coyote versus Acme. So again, it's like when Feige took over, well, he was basically working at Marvel Entertainment and he worked on the X-Men films, he worked on the Spider-Man films, and then of course worked with what's his name, Favreau. So yeah, like again, I'm not saying it's a red light for me. It's amber. But it's certainly better than what they've had. So
Yeah,
that's my
I think having a singular, not necessarily vision, but just these two people that singularly are saying,
this is the through line.
yeah, we're everything feeds through us. And I'm hoping, and I've always heard great things about James Gunn, as a person. He Michael Rosenbaum, who I love, is best friends, adores James Gunn. Like, they're super close. Um, and so I know he's crazy excited about this. Um, so there's enough people that like James Gunn and respect James Gunn and the things that he can do, that I am familiar with, that I'm like, okay, let's give it some time. Like you said, if James Gunn and Safran are the funnel that this stuff goes through, but they're not necessarily the ones making the content, I think that's when it gets interesting. When Feige is the brains and he's filtering everything through, but the Russos come and they say, hey, we're going to do this shit. We're going to do it like this. Feige says, okay, well, it has to do this, this, and this because everything else around it. Like, you have the big picture story person, and then you have these people that are super creative. And I think I'm curious to see who Gunn and Safran bring in, because that's where the real magic is going to happen. I hope that Gunn doesn't really direct any more movies, maybe one or two somewhere along the line. If they do another Suicide Squad, maybe. If he's doing season 2 of Peacemaker, I'd totally watch that. That show by the end got me in. Like, I wasn't sure at first; it took a little while, but by the end, I really enjoyed it.
Okay, you're the second person I know who really liked it. So I may go back. I may go back. I dropped out, but I may go back.
Yeah, it took a little while, but by the end, I was dying. Like, there's so much fun stuff. I think, was it Robert Patrick that plays his dad?
Mhm.
Like, his story arc was pretty solid. He's definitely just not a good dude. Like, um, but it was good. Like, it got me by the end. I enjoyed it. It got emotional at the end. There was things that were ridiculous, like his pet eagle is just named Eagly.
Yes.
So, by the end, is so fucking funny. Like, I don't know. I don't know if it wore me down and I finally gave in. It was just like, fuck it. I guess I like this, but I did. Like, when it was done, I really enjoyed it. So, if he sticks to the couple of things that he's done and lets other people do other stuff. Now, if we're start watching and he's directing 50% of the DCU, then I'm gonna be a little concerned. Because that was the problem with Snyder and the Snyderverse, is that like it was all funneling through those movies that weren't very good anyways. But yeah, we'll see. I think I'm more excited than you, but I'm still cautiously optimistic. There's still a lot of things they need to get right first for it to be truly like exciting. So we shall see.
I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah,
And he's probably all over. He's probably
yeah, he's
semi over it.
Yeah. yeah, he's got a chub just thinking about it, I'm sure, right now. So with that, we are cruising right along, and I think the only thing we have left to talk about is the latest episode of Andor, which, like I think I said in the pre-show, isn't necessarily the most exciting episode of Andor that we've had so far. But there were some revelations in here, some really interesting stuff. It's such a weird show because he survives. It doesn't matter, like there's no real stakes for us watching Andor himself because he gets out of it. At some point he's not going to be in prison anymore. He can't stay there because he's got a whole storyline that he's got to go through. We know when he dies, we know how he dies, we know all this. So his stakes are different than everybody else. So you've got to watch these other characters and get interested in them. And there's some interesting stuff going on. Like this episode didn't feature Skarsgård.
Nope.
It was interesting to find out who the girl was, the girl that was leading the attack.
Oh yes,
that was a trip to find out she's what Mon Mothma's cousin
cousin. Yes, cousin.
Yeah.
Yes. And she's hot in makeup, by the way. Sorry,
dude. Yeah, no, I was the same way. I saw her, I was like, okay,
lambs up, man.
Yeah,
like, all right.
yeah. I was like, she's pretty. I know we keep calling him Kyle MacLachlan. I know he has a real name.
Soller. I think his name is Soller. I think
close, something like that. Something close to that.
Yeah.
He just looks too much like fucking Kyle MacLachlan.
Yeah.
But he makes a little bit of a move in this episode. We have Andy Serkis's character comes around, in this episode. So those are probably like the three key things I think that come out of this episode. Because we also don't see and the girl's getting tortured. Andor's, I guess she's his ex-girlfriend.
She is totally his ex-girlfriend. Yeah. And I actually respect the shit out of her because like she definitely wants to protect him.
Mm-hmm.
But that was good. And I think that even the evil ISB Ice Queen, she is, man, I think she's enjoying that role because the way she, and not to like bring whatever, I'm bringing it up. So that's how you do a bad guy, right? Because remember the Sith from Obi-Wan or Kenobi, like when the first episode where it almost felt too forced or whatever, it was like, okay, you're trying too hard, it just feels weird.
Yeah.
But this one, like even the way her eyes kind of shift and tremble, it's like she's seething with contempt and iciness and hate and what's the word? Sadism. Like she's a sadist. Like she enjoys like giving people pain, whether it's torture or whether it's trying to scare, puppy boy MacLachlan, who has a crush on her, basically.
Yeah.
Like but it's like I get it. Like I like her. I fucking like her.
Well, her story arc is interesting. Like she has an arc. Like she started this as she's the only person in the room that knew what the fuck is going on. Yeah. She was literally the only person that knew what was going on. And because there was so much bureaucratic paperwork shit in the way, nobody was listening to her. So she had to go out of her way, put her career on the line, battle to get that shit. And when she got it, she was like, I fucking told you. And now she's big boss bitch. Like she's queen of the kingdom right now. She's got the forces behind her. They're giving her some leeway. They start to give her some shit in this one, and then her little lackey comes running up and he's like, no, because they say something about like, oh, maybe Cassian Andor doesn't matter, or maybe it's not him or whatever. And then dude comes running up. He's like, no, right here in the report. So he was clean shaven. Everybody in the thing was clean shaven, and the raid was clean shaven. Like they go through all this stuff. Once again, pointing out that like she's sharp. Like she's the only one on this shit. Like she's a badass. She's crazy. Like when she goes to torture the girl,
Yeah.
she, like you said, she's hardcore. She's like, yeah, it's gonna suck for you, but cool. Let's
The
just go ahead.
his voices work, you
Yeah.
know, the damage happens unrepeated, like she's just like, I'm just like, whoa, I'm trying to like find the name of the guy because I it's bugging me, but basically her boss, I'm pretty sure that guy's from Game of Thrones, and I think that he
Yes.
was one of the maesters or something like that. I know
Yes. 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 Yes.
what okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Or
Yeah.
the one of the what was the religious group?
Oh yes, dude. Yes. I know what you're talking about, but like, yes, that whole shit was
Yeah.
crazy. I think it was season
Yeah.
6. The guy
Yeah.
looked like, but the maester that was like that religious group. Why did he look like Pope Francis? Like that guy looked just like Francis. It was crazy. Like, how is this happening right now? Um, but yeah, it's gonna bug me. But no, Andor's dope, and it's like you're watching the show, you're totally into it. Even like that older guy who had the stroke or whatever, the whole
Mm.
time I'm watching them like put the things together, I'm just bracing myself for like when a hand gets chopped off or something because like someone wasn't paying attention. So I'm glad at least like he went out like peacefully or whatever.
Yeah.
But and then on a personal note, man, like whatever, I'm gonna tell a bit too much about my life, but like I definitely, one of my old jobs, like it was definitely like rough, and I felt like um why am I doing this? Why is my name so bad? But like, like what's his name? You know, like the guy who voiced uh Gollum, whatever. Like
Circus. Andy Circus.
Andy Serkis. I
Yeah.
was Andy Serkis at our job, dude. Like I straight up was, and I was kind of like keeping everybody in line, and I had a line to like the CEO, whatever. But at some point, you realize, what, like this is some bullshit, But
Yeah.
before, I was just like, let's just like, as long as we just toe the line, everything is gonna be fine until it isn't or whatever. John, whatever. But John, if you're listening, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But it was great when he asked him, so how many guards? And he's like, no more than 12. Like that was the sign that
Like,
he
yeah,
had
he
turned the
finally given up
corner.
because I mean, the revelation there was that nobody's leaving. Like they're just getting past the different floors. So the people around them think they're new, but they're not new. Like they're just cycling downward. And when somebody figured that out on the 12th, on the second floor, they're like,
Yes.
cool, kill them all. We've got so many more. Because when he first comes in, when Cassian first comes in, they talk about how they just like doubled everybody's sentences.
Mm-hmm.
Like right when he came in, and it explains why he got busted for such a stupid crime
They
and got
need
like 6 years for
bodies.
running
Yes.
when he was just like for the
He's a
first time in the
tourist.
entire show. Yeah, he was actually super innocent. And so it's a trip. It's crazy to see it now. They're gonna have to. We know he's gonna get out, right? Like I said that before. Like we know he's getting out. Now you hope that he gets Andy Serkis out, that he gets some of these other people out that are with him. Like there's the young black kid that he was talking with when he comes out of the restroom when he's trying to start fucking shit up. That kid seems to be with him, like kind of planning
Yeah,
things and
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
figure
They're
stuff out.
definitely gonna fuck some shit up.
So more people are going to get pulled into that fold. Um, so it's a trip. And you talked about the Ice Queen and how our buddy Kyle MacLachlan, who is not Kyle MacLachlan, was right up in her business. He straight up stops her. She's like, "Are you stalking me?" And he's like, "I don't know."
Cyril Kern. I looked it up. Cyril Kern. Cyril.
Cyril. Okay, maybe we'll get that right. So Cyril, um, he does. He gets right up in her face, and he's like, "I just want to thank you. You're the only person who believed in me." Blah blah blah. She's like, "Bro, I was She's like, I was,
I was proud of him, man. Like I'm
yeah,
saying, like I tell too much on this show, but like I like okay, he remember I think I told you guys in the very beginning, he was the first character I actually latched on to because I get it. Like when you can see clearly what's going on and everyone else is like whatever, he's like, no, fuck that. And then he's such a believer, but then he fucked up, whatever. But he finally is like, you know what? Like, no, like I knew I wasn't crazy. I knew I wasn't dreaming because you are like me and you happen to be, well, reasonably attractive. So, and I don't really care. Like he has nothing. His mother is horrible, So it's like he literally. That's why it's such a good character study. That's why he's so wedded to the ISB and the Empire because he has nothing without that. Like, what is he? He's just this sniveling, empty person with a emotionally abusive mother,
yeah,
and like he's kind of a loser, But he wants meaning, and he sees a kindred spirit in her, and I think he's also I admire his bravery. He's like, you know what, like if you want to have me killed, then fine. But you know what? I don't think you're going to kill me because I know you. I see you, and I admire guts. I do the same way I admire Aemond going after Vagar. Like even though he's an asshole, I can't take that away from him. If you show me you have guts, if you show me that you are willing to put it on the line for what you believe in, I have to respect that because not everybody has that. And shit, there's probably moments in my life where I didn't put it on the line. So good for you, man. And I'm impressed. I hope they make it happen.
yeah. It'll be interesting because that will be her moment of weakness, right? Like, because she's so tough that like opening up to somebody will definitely like have to soften her up a little bit, right? Like and I don't mean it will make her weak. It's just like she's so hard and she's
But it
so
could.
strong. It could,
She could be compromised. But
which I
like you
hope they
said,
don't, because we talked about this. We talked about how
oh
when
yes, yes,
when
yes.
female characters have a love interest, that's what makes them weak. Like being in love makes it, but in with male characters, they never do it like that. Um, although I would say that for as like headstrong as Cyril has been, this like his affection for this woman definitely is like he's the one putting shit on the line. He's like, fuck it, if
Yeah.
I'm gonna like you whether it gets me murdered or not, right? Like, so it is kind of weakening him in that regard. Um, but I hope I hope they don't make her just weak because of a dude. Like that would suck because she's pretty, like, I don't like her as a person. Like she's shitty, but like as a character, like she's strong,
She's
she's badass. Like,
fascinating.
and I would hate to see that go to the wayside for some D. Um, so we shall see on that. Um, she's a badass, and I think what's interesting is you have this character too that we haven't talked about a ton, but you have Mon Mothma, who is literally when we were kids was leading the fucking charge on the Death Star. Like she's she's a
You mean the
big deal.
rebellion?
Yeah, she's like she's
Yes. Yeah.
leading
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yes.
rebellion.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. She's
and
basically the general, right? Like,
yeah, like
yeah.
she's the shit. And right now she's finding her way. Like she wants to be part of the resistance. She wants to support in the ways that she can,
You know what?
but she doesn't understand it all yet.
But it's like that's the other thing I like about this show, and it's so important. It's like it is literally teaching. Fuck it, it's entertainment. I don't care what. It's teaching people how it takes all levels, right, to actually make a movement, and you help out in the best way you can. So she's doing it, with the funding and from behind the scenes, and there is no instruction manual for this shit, So I think it's realistic. And the her cousin who like basically got like smacked around a little bit by her girlfriend being say, yeah, some little rich girl trying to prove herself or whatever. It's like, but that's just the reality of it, I'm loving all of that. There was a point I was going to make, and I'm trying to remember what it was, and I'm so mad because it was going to be like profound and shit, and now it's gone. But it was like something I remember now. So basically, Saw Gerrera, I think, and that was in the last episode, but
Yep.
he's to me kind of a cautionary tale. Like when you are such a purist that you can't align, that's bad. Because I think that in any kind of social movement, you're going to find people who are more divisive and they find reasons to not align. And they're like, no, well, because you don't say this, I can't align with you, you know? And I'm like, no, no, no. You got to like take a step back and be a coalition, think bigger picture. And we see by the end of it, by Rogue One, Saw is like he's insane. Like he's literally just like mumbling to himself. So again, I need to see the Essential Clone Wars because I think he shows up in that too. So
Believe so, yeah.
yeah, so I want more, but I just think that whoever's writing this damn show is like they're putting thought into this the same way I think Battlestar Galactica had a lot of thought put into it. There's a lot of allegorical value here. Um, but yeah, I actually this is the best Mon Mothma, like I've seen because yeah, she shows up in Rogue One and she is actually king shit even in Rogue One by that point. Like she's like
Yep.
the
Yep.
leader. So that's gonna be cool seeing her rise from what are we doing? And then her cousin's like, we made a vow, like to I'm Steely. So it's like, yeah, I mean, thank God. Like, thank God. And if Kathleen Kennedy, if you were behind this show, like props. Because you finally you got one.
Finally got one right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a cool show and it's deep, and I think this is a show that actually benefits from having more episodes. I think a lot of shows we look at and we're like, yeah, 10 episodes is enough, 8 episodes is enough, 6 episodes in some cases is enough. And there's enough going on that I think it's like each 3 episodes is almost like its own movie, right? So we're watching a trilogy or a quadrilogy of you know of films here. And number one, the production value is amazing. Like it's never hurting for beauty.
Even the shot of Mon Mothma just standing there in the doorway when her cousin leaves, and it's just
Yeah.
a perfectly framed shot. I looked at that, and I actually wonder if THX. I never saw the movie, but THX 1138. I wonder if like they were inspired by that because all the white. There's so much white in these shots. It's just such a clean environment. It's like futuristic, and you see like anyway. I'm just gushing now, but like and they put so much effort into even the characters. I care about Bix. Her name is Bix. The Bix was tortured. I thought of Bix as kind of annoying and kind of like, I'm still mad at you for dating that douche who turned in fucking Andor, but now I see you, Bix, as no, you are a believer. You try to radio Homeboy, and Homeboy was smart enough to not answer because then they would have been given away. And I care about them all. I care about Mom. I care about Bix. I care about Cyril. I care about Ice Queen. I care about former Game of Thrones guy. I mean, everyone is. Oh, and I haven't even talked about Andor. I care about Andor. I care about Gollum. I care. I mean, everyone actually is cool. That doctor guy is fucking twisted. He's like, yes,
Mm-hmm.
we went to this planet and they didn't take too kindly to us developing, so we just killed them all. And the scream that they made was so fucking fucked up that our soldiers were like all curled up in a ball because they couldn't take the scream. So we recorded the scream and put it into our machine and we tortured people with it. Woohoo! We're fucking
Yeah.
they're straight up Mengele Nazi fucking motherfuckers, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. It's so well done. Like everything about it is a trip on so many levels. And I can't wait. Like this was episode 9, right?
that sounds right. I'm going to triple check.
So we have
I
10,
hope I
11,
hope
12.
not.
We've got 3 more to go.
I'm so sad. I'm so sad.
And then at some point, if you were ever watching the Bad Batch, that comes back soon in the Star Wars universe. And then I think the next thing is after that is Mandalorian season 3. At some point we'll get Ahsoka. So
Episode 9 confirmed.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm excited for whatever comes next on this.
Yeah, and believe it or not, even though this was kind of like a light episode in terms of content, I'm not gonna lie, dude, I enjoy hanging out. So I'm a little sad. I'm like, wait, don't we have something else to talk about? Like
the only other thing I've got, and it's crazy short.
okay.
But I anybody that knows me knows that The Last of Us is my favorite video game ever made. TV shows coming out. They've announced the release date, and they made my life by announcing that the first episode will drop on my birthday. So I'm
January, right?
stoked for that. Yeah, January 15th. So I'm super stoked. Like I don't ask for much for my birthday, so that's a pretty dope birthday present to get. Um, I'm looking forward to a little bit. This is for me. I feel very fortunate because unless they do something really crazy with it, they can't spoil the show for me. So for this one, when trailers come out, I'm just like, cool, I'll eat them up. Sometimes like I don't want to see anything else for Black Panther until after I see Black Panther.
Same.
Like I don't need to know anymore. I don't need to know much more about Ant-Man, like all these other things. But this one, just bring me all
Need
the
me.
trailers, the content. Like I know, I know what's coming, and they may make some changes, which would be cool. I'd love to be surprised. But I'm more like, for me, I expect it to be good, but I'm excited for the people that have never played the game. Somebody like you that's never played the game, somebody like Pete that's never played the game and probably never will, to get to experience this story, which I think is so great. Um,
Can you
there's
set it up
still
a little bit? Is it post-apocalyptic? Like what's the situation?
So yeah, so the way that the way that, I can only explain the game. I don't know about the series for sure, but the way the game opens up, it's you actually play this little girl, this little 13-year-old girl, I think, getting out of bed. She wakes up in the middle of the night, or actually, right before that, she's sitting there. She's waiting for her dad to come home from work. It's his birthday. She gives him a watch. They have their cute moment. He carries her upstairs and puts her to bed. She wakes up in the middle of the night. She can't find him. He, you know, she goes downstairs. She's looking around for him. He comes racing in the house, freaked out. And then like this crazy psycho person comes slamming through their glass door, and the dad character has to shoot them. And then you take over as the dad, who is Joel. And then you kind of go on the run with his brother and his daughter, and they're trying to make their escape from town because there's this outbreak going on that literally. So the game starts at the onset of the outbreak, um, and then some events happen in the opening. You get through a single night of the opening, and then it jumps forward 13 years. I think I'd have to look and make sure. I can't remember quite how far it jumps ahead, but it jumps ahead quite a bit. And then so now we're into people living through this infestation, almost Walking Dead style, right? Like where these things are on the outside of the cities that are barricaded. So your story picks up in, it's not Boston proper,
Sounds
but you're
Attack on
somewhere
Titan-ish.
a little bit. And so what was trippy about the show, or about the game, is that or both, is that the infestation, or the outbreak, is the cordyceps virus, which, or fungus, which is real. In ants, the cordyceps virus infects ants and then forces them to do certain things so that it can propagate itself. And so it's all about the fungus, and it drives people insane. Like as it grows through people, like it messes up their face. Like their face just basically looks like a giant mushroom, like not like Mario mushroom, but like
Fungus. Yeah.
yeah. So it's cool, and it's very it's a very human story because in the game, you're Joel, however many years in the future, he's got to help this new little girl get across the country, and he doesn't want to be involved with her, and then it's about them coming together. Like it becomes this father-daughter kind of story.
That reminds me of Logan. Do you think
A little bit,
Logan
a little bit.
took from the game?
It's definitely drawn a lot of comparisons. There were a lot of people that wanted Hugh Jackman to play Joel because, number one, he actually looks a lot like the character anyways. But there's definitely some correlation there. The Last of Us was first. It came out in 2013, I think.
Yeah. So I'm sure they got some inspiration.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of like Mandalorian, right? I mean, Lone Wolf and Cub
Yes.
story is its own thing. Like it's been around forever, but it definitely has that feel to it. And there was a lot of people that were itching for that. There were people like the dream casting that people had was Hugh Jackman for Joel and Caitlin Dever as the girl. And this was, it's been a few years now, because originally they were going to do movies, like they've been through all these ideas of doing it. And the person doing the show is Craig Mazin, who did Chernobyl, which was a fantastic show.
Yeah.
Well made. And then on top of that, the guy that directed the game, Neil Druckmann, is actually the one helping direct the show also. So like they have the original creator, you have this guy with TV and production experience, and Craig Mazin, and then just a ton of actors behind it. Pedro Pascal, the girl that
Leanna
played
Mormont.
yes, like she's dope. Anna Torv from Fringe and other stuff, she's in there. Ron Swanson is going to be in it,
Okay.
from Parks and Rec. Like they have done a great job. The two main actors from the video game, Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson, they are not playing the main characters in this, obviously, because that's Pedro and Liana Mormont. But they're going to appear in there as different characters, just as like, because they don't obviously.
And they're involved in Play, Watch, Listen, right? Because that reminds me.
He is. Troy Baker is.
Okay, yeah.
She is not. She is on what's the D&D one? Critical Role.
Okay.
Cool. And so yeah, I'm super pumped for it. So I like I said, for me, the biggest excitement I get out of it is that other people are going to experience this story. It's what I've always hoped for, because I know that there's a lot of people that will never play these games. There's two of them, and I don't know. Yeah, exactly. And so this is that barrier, because when I look at the world and where entertainment's going, I do think at some point some variation of video games is the next generation of storytelling. We've been doing movies for so long. We've tried 3D movies and they've kind of worked. There's going to be aspects of 3D movies, or Netflix tried it with almost like the choose your own adventure stuff. So
Bandersnatch.
Yeah. Example. So exactly. So they're trying things. I don't think it's necessarily the next evolution necessarily even in our lifetime, but I think at some point putting people into the movies or giving them agency over the story like you do in video games and making it feel real, because we're in the VR video game revolution now. And it's it's cool. It'll be interesting to see if it is what comes next.
Yeah, I think the VR piece, if you can become it's almost like did you read Ready Player One, the book?
Yes. Well, I didn't read it. I actually listened to it on audiobook, because I was driving around a lot, and I struggled to read at home because I have so much going on, and so it was the perfect way to take it in. But yes, Ready Player One I'm familiar with.
Yeah, so like when he actually, like, part of the game is actually acting in the movie, like being a character in a movie, like that sounds amazing. And I think that that might have been a bit what's the word, prophetic, because I would eat that up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of kind of post-apocalyptic things, I think there was some headlines as well about how 28 days later they're going to be ready to do 28 months later.
Yeah, still working on
I remember when I think you commented that was one of your favorite movies of all time. I remember seeing that movie with my girlfriend at the time, and she didn't like it because she was like, I came to see a horror movie and it turned into a movie about rape. What the fuck? Like towards the end, like, and that was kind of weird or whatever. But aside from that, I have seen both. Like I saw 28 Days and 28.
I feel like I saw Weeks, but I don't remember it very well.
Yeah, I do remember, like, there was one act. I remember the opening scene is definitely like a chase scene. Like he jumps out of a house and like gets to a boat, whatever. And I also remember, I forget which movie it was, where like a guy gets like a drop of blood in his eye.
That was Days.
It was Days?
Yeah.
It was fucked. You know what? I may have to. I remember liking them both though.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope. And 28 Weeks, which one ended with like the zombies running to like other cities? Like either way, it probably both ended that way. But
I think that was Weeks though. But
yeah,
I think what blew me away about Days, it was pre Walking Dead.
Yeah.
But it was the same idea. It's not about the zombie apocalypse. It's about the people in the zombie apocalypse, and some of those people are not good people, like,
Yes.
and then was what made that story interesting to me. And so that's actually why I love the beginning of The Walking Dead when it started. Like, it was a story about people and the different things that people do, when there's a lack of society, right? Like when you're building your own personal society, Um, so it was a trip. It's cool. I'm very curious to see what they do with 28. I guess it's months later is what they're gonna.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cillian Murphy's first appearance for me. I'd never
Yeah.
seen him before until that.
Actually, I think I saw him. I think Red Eye was before that. I think I saw him in Red Eye before that.
Oh yeah, with what's her name? With
Rachel McAdams.
Doctor Strange's wife, or
Yeah.
ex, I should say. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So cool. Well, I think we somehow made an episode out of once again, very little. And I think next week we'll hopefully we get somebody else on, because we are both very interesting people. But with Black Panther coming out, I'd like to have hopefully another voice in there. I'm sure at this point I feel like we're not going to have any dissenting voices. It seems like it's going to be a pretty positive flick, but we'll see. But I'm excited for that. So we'll have that and whatever else we watch in the upcoming week and go from there.
Yeah, I can't wait for Black Adam. I have a feeling Namor is going to be a big deal. I keep hearing it. He's going to steal the show.
Did you post? Were you the one that posted the thing about how Ryan Coogler, way back in 2017, basically went to Marvel, was like, yeah, leave me Namor. Please don't use him anywhere. I want him for the next Black Panther. Yeah. So that's dope. Like, I think that's super cool that they let him do that. So I'm excited for that. It's going to be dope. I think, from the trailer, there's a lot of scene stealing going on. I think Angela Bassett looks.
I heard
awesome
it's actually going to be Academy Award level
stuff.
Yeah,
I saw something about that too. So she looks dope. Somewhere in there, we're probably gonna have a new Black Panther. I want to see what's his face Mako does. I fucking love his character.
Yes.
There's a lot to put into this story, so I'm excited for it. And I until he proves otherwise, I'm team Ryan Coogler. Like,
Coogler he's never done a bad film. As a matter of fact, I saw Fruitvale Station super late. Like, I saw it maybe a month or two ago for the first time.
It wasn't long ago. I remember you talking about that.
And I was like, wow, dude. Yeah, you're a talented dude.
Yeah, he's dope. I like him a lot. He, like I said, until he screws something up, he's got my attention for sure. So I'm excited. We're gonna have a good conversation next week.
Amen.
So until then, thank you for watching. Thank you for downloading if you're listening to the podcast, which I don't think Pete has posted in like 2 months, so you're probably not listening yet. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave us some comments. We got some comments from Leah. She, just for the sake of Andy knowing, she did enjoy Black Panther. And she's never been
the first Black Panther.
Oh, sorry, Black Adam.
She did.
She did enjoy Black Adam.
Yes.
And she's never been line dancing, so Andy can suck it. So we've got that. So with that, have a great week, and we will see you guys next week. Deuces. So this is a completely unpaid advertisement, but you see this?
Is that Coke Zero?
Nitro Pepsi. Okay, so the idea is that instead of putting CO2 in the can, they put nitrous in the can, like they do with Guinness. Have you ever seen a Guinness pour?
Yeah, it's like really, really fizzy, right? Yeah.
No, check this out.
Oh,
well, sounds different when you open it.
Mm-hmm.
When you pour it,
it's heavy.
You literally pour straight down. I'm losing you. There we go. You just do a straight pour. When it's cold enough, this tastes exactly like a Coke slushy from 7-Eleven.
Wow. Talk about innovation. So this is a new look at that head.
Yeah, it's fucking great.
All right.
Yeah, dude, it's good. Like I've always been more of a Coke person than a Pepsi person. Just I think because I was also more of a McDonald's person than anywhere else, and McDonald's has the best Coke in the world, right? Like that's their thing. They have their special Coca-Cola recipe, and their stuff's just better.
Well, that's crazy. I hope someone from Pepsi sees this.
They will not. They will not. Nobody that works at Pepsi Cola is watching our show.
Content is king, right? But
For
content
sure.
is what makes me sign up for your shit. Like, so I and Funimation, by the way, I'm in rant mode. Funimation's app is the worst. Holy shit. There's nothing more annoying than starting something and then stopping it, especially with my ADD ass. And then you start it again and it starts from the beginning. And you
Oh,
have to
I
like
hate that. I
fast
hate that. And
forward.
then you got to figure out where you were,
Yes.
go through
And
all
then
that
you
bullshit.
spoil yourself because you might go too far. And it's just like so Funimation's app, if you're like a Funimation person and you're watching this right now, like just fix your shit, man. Like I mean, yeah, it's so annoying, dude. Like it's literally a crapshoot. Sometimes it works, most of the time it doesn't. So as soon as I'm finished with Serial Experiments Lane, I'm canceling your shit again because your user experience is horrible. And maybe
That
it's Roku's fault. I don't know. Maybe you're good on
could
your
be.
other platforms, but
Have you tried it on a web browser, just on a computer, just to see if it's any different?
that's actually a good call. I'll have to try that.
Yeah, just to see, because the apps do differ from carrier to carrier. So who knows?
Like I was telling you in the chat. So I have never done a TikTok before.
Mm-hmm.
I am getting off my butt and making a TikTok. I was going to probably keep it like under 2 minutes, but I went back to one of our episodes where we talked about, well, I was ranting about Transformers, the movie, the one where you talked about Empire Records is one of your favorite movies. But anyway, I hope to make a really cool TikTok, whatever they call them. I know Reels is what they call them on Facebook. I don't know what TikTok things are called, but
Yeah, I don't know what they're called either.
hopefully
TikToks, I
that will
think.
TikToks, yeah,
Yeah,
TikTok, and maybe that'll get the word out about the podcast. So you're watching history right now if this
yeah, yeah.
pre-show.
Whatever it takes to get a few more people in here.
Word up,
Um, TikTok's a neat one. I'm curious to see what the next thing to take off is, because Twitter is in deep shit.
man. Like
Um,
I really wonder, like what? Okay, either you're a genius, Mr. Musk, or you are now finally like your narcissism is going to take you down because the advertisers of course are going to leave in droves because they want to be next to brand safe content. And
yep,
if you're removing all the guardrails to decency,
yeah.
then
I
like
mean, look what just happened with Kanye. It's the same thing, right? Like advertisers are now at the point where they don't want to be in a toxic situation where they're, you
not worth the
know,
risk, man. And it's like, man, the Kanye thing, and I'm not even a sports person, but apparently this guy Kyrie Irving, like apparently like
mhm.
his own career too, like just oh my god. I mean, it's just so yeah. I feel like these motherfuckers, like, and I'm not saying what they're saying is true or false or whatever, but I feel like these guys have Vamond Valerian syndrome. Like they open
Mhm.
their mouths and get their fucking heads chopped off. It's like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah,
Like, even if the Strongs are like the Strongs, like everyone in that room was like, what the fuck are you doing? Anyway,
yeah,
just you guys don't know how to act.
yeah. I've been on Twitter for a long time, and I've
Oh,
got a lot of people that I follow and talk with on Twitter, and I'm hanging in there, for the community that I have on there. Um, but I'm like, man, I don't know. Like, there's other Twitter adjacent kind of apps. There's like Mastodon. There's a few other ones. But I don't know. I don't know if maybe this, it's easy to say that it's in deep trouble, but it's such a big app that it'll probably bounce back at least a little bit after a while in some form or fashion.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
he's not a dummy. I mean, the guy did what? He did SpaceX, he did PayPal, he did, Tesla. So it's like,
and Tesla is a company that has lost him a ton of money, like a ton of different times, and had him in trouble. And but I tell you what, I was in San Francisco, not yeah, last week. I was in San Francisco last week, and there's Teslas everywhere, just everywhere.
so the West really is kind of like the bleeding edge of tech
Yeah,
culture.
yeah. It's the rich people fancy car. You know what I mean? The tech mogul car.
Mhm.
Here on the East Coast, when you get to the big city, you just take a cab.
Yes.
You're like, I'm not driving.
Or a Lyft or a
Um,
Subway, exactly. I get you.
yeah, I had my first Uber experience last week too.
Oh,
I
word.
took a bunch of Ubers last week.
By the way, actually, ironically, but it makes sense. We both had my first rideshare experience, I think ever, was in 2015. I was going to our high school reunion. Yeah, yeah. So I literally took a Lyft from the hotel to the venue, and I should have taken a Lyft back. Wait, no, I lied. I didn't take a Lyft. But anyway, point is, I remember maybe it was in San Francisco. Either way, it was ironically in the Bay Area, not in New York. So anyway, that was random.